It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is showtime, and I got these bulky headphones on that I'm going to be getting rid of pretty soon, I promise, all right? So, you know, that means if you see these bulky headphones, you know I got a guest. I got a special guest. Can't wait to bring him on camera. It is the Wednesday Hump Day Working Divas Wednesday edition of the Geno Jones Show. I do my weekly variety show right here Monday through Friday live on my YouTube channel. So please like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, subscribe, and tag everybody you know. But I definitely need you to like, to share, and subscribe, and tell everybody you know to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Geno Jones Show, right here on the Geno Jones Network on my YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, if you love to be a sponsor, I'd be honored to have you as a sponsor. If you want to advertise, if you would like for me to be your pitch man, since I'm not the king, the king. See, it's a difference between the king and the king. I'm the king. What did Denzel say in Training Day? I'm the king. I'll tell you how to reach out to me later in the show. Let's get things going. Let's start off some positive news, man, because it's just so much, oh God, it's so much heavy, dark, negative news. So I want to start off with some good news. So congratulations to Jay-Z, Mr. Sean Carter, Tina Turner, LL Cool J, Billy Preston, and Gil Scott-Heron, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for 2021. So, you know, they'll have the big concert that's going to be on HBO. It'll be sometime in the fall. Hold on. Amidst this positive news, there's some people missing. So I don't know who's on the committee, the selection committee, but listen, okay, Jay-Z, no doubt. Tina Turner, no doubt, because she's already in with Ike and Tina. Y'all could have took Ike out, really. Just left Tina in by herself, if we just gonna be honest about it, but okay. So Jay-Z, Tina, LL, come on, no doubt. Billy Preston, I bet, okay. Gil Scott-Heron, absolutely. The brother was like, okay, we were just talking about, many of us, talking about Marvin Gaye's album 50 years ago, the What's Going On album. How prophetic that it still is. 50 years later, today, the lyrics to every song on that album, it's like he wrote it for today, 50 years ago. Well, Gil Scott-Heron was doing that. Gil Scott-Heron was doing that even before Marvin Gaye was. Just Google Gil Scott-Heron. Just, you know what? Google The Message by Gil Scott-Heron and listen to the message in that music right there. But wait a minute. You left somebody out. So you know who else was nominated but didn't get selected? Mary J. Blige. Come on, really? The queen of hip-hop, R&B, and hip-hop soul? How could you leave the queen of R&B and hip-hop soul out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Oh, and then Shaka Khan? That's all I got to say. Shaka Khan. You can't have any kind of Hall of Fame without Shaka Khan in it. I mean, it's just a fact. I'm not just saying that because she's from the south side of Chicago, Hyde Park High School, Kenwood High School, stand up, Miss Yvette Stevens. You cannot have a Hall of Fame. High, sober, I don't give a damn. Shaka Khan has got to be in the Hall of Fame. Mary J. Blige has got to be in the Hall of Fame. And this sister, you left this sister out that I'm going to mention next. She's 80 years old. She still looks beautiful, and she still sounds great. Her voice sounds great. Dionne Warwick. How can you have a Hall of Fame with Auntie Dionne Warwick? Come on, guys. Y'all got to do better. You can do better. You can do better. Y'all got to do better. I give you Jay, congratulations on Jay and Tina Turner and LL and Billy Preston and Gil Scott-Heron. But really? Mary should have been right there. Jay-Z and Mary J and Tina and Shaka Khan, all right. Dionne Warwick, and throwing LL. Maybe Billy could have waited a year. You know, Gil could have waited a year. With rest in peace, power in paradise. But I'm just saying. But it's not my Hall of Fame. So if it was my Hall of Fame, they would definitely be in. So I just had to get that off my chest today. Let me bring on my guest. My guest is he is returning to the show, and I'm honored to have him return to the show. He, of course, is a former national TV sportscaster. And you heard him on ESPN doing Sports Center and Fox Sports 1 and BET Sports and every sports on. What sports did he do? He did it. He did it all. This man, if it is sports broadcasting, he's done it all. Now he is a filmmaker of a documentary of a little teeny little town in Alabama, southern Alabama. But boy, that small town, they have produced some of the biggest names in sports, especially baseball. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friend, Mr. Eric Clemons. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I still don't understand why it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And just music, whatever.
No,
Anyway,
listen,
that's another show.
No. Great minds think alike. I even had a punchline in there, but I said, listen, I wanted to get to you, so I'll be going off tomorrow. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
my weekly contributor, Miss Keela Carson, so we'll be talking about the snubs. We're happy for Jay-Z and Tina Turner, LL Cool J, Billy Preston. Billy was underrated, just one of the greatest keyboardists I've ever seen. But Gil Scott-Heron, man, people is, like I said, Google The Message by Gil Scott-Heron, okay? I mean, Marvin Gaye, he had that one prophetic album with What's Going On, but all of Gil Scott's music was about message, was about social, political commentary, social justice. Heavy brother, Gil Scott-Heron.
He was.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but, you know, like you said, that's a whole other story. But you can't have any Hall of Fame. I don't give a damn if it's rock and roll, R&B, whatever kind of Hall of Fame it is. You can't have a Hall of Fame if it's connected to some kind of music and not have Mary J. Blige and Shaka Khan in the hall. But we digress.
I don't get it.
You are here to talk about your documentary. We can get into that. But listen, man, I'm so happy for you and proud of you. So before we get into it, I want to play a clip from the documentary just to give people a little sample of what they should expect. So let's take a look here.
Mobile, Alabama, the small Gulf Coast city with a baseball tradition that dates back as far as the 18th century. And in the segregated South, the poor and African American communities produced legendary talent that may never come this way again.
Mobile can put the best team in America on the field if you go by city by city by city.
5 Hall of Fame players, ranking Mobile behind only New York City and Los Angeles and Cooperstown reps, along with a number of additional solid performers, had many wondering, what were they doing down there? Well, they were certainly playing a lot of baseball.
There wasn't many things you could do, you know, as a black kid growing up. You know, you either had to play baseball or teach school.
And they also were playing a street game called Tops that helped many develop key hitting skills.
Because I did a commercial here, the guys were, well, why are you such a good hitter? I said, hand-eye coordination. And of course, I played a lot of tops. They didn't know what that was.
And you know what, I've gone around after I retired, I talked to little league coaches, high school coaches, and all. And I told them, I said, go get me a broomstick and get me those things. And we start doing this. And the kids would, my yard out here, I still got things all over my yard where the kids would come out and play because it was fun.
From the ageless wonder first in the line to 2 of the most feared left-handed sluggers in Major League Baseball history to the one-time home run king, Mobile, Alabama can lay claim to being a baseball factory unlike any other city.
All right, we're back here. As a matter of fact, let me come back. There we go, back with Eric. Wow. Did the legend, some of the greatest of the great, And everybody we saw, those guys, so of course, the Hammer, Hank Aaron, Sweet Swinging, Billy Williams, Chicago Cub, Mr. Willie McCovey, Big Stretch, number 44. And if my eyes didn't deceive me, I saw Satchel Paige, and I saw Ozzie Smith. So let's talk about it, man. First of all, what was the inspiration for you outside of the obvious, just to sit down and talk about some of the greats of all time? So, but give us the backstory on the inspiration behind the documentary.
Well, not long after both of us graduated from the same college in the early 80s. Wasn't the best. I'm sorry.
Keep it secret.
I'm sorry. Late 80s. My bad.
How about that?
My career amidst those economic difficulties finally got underway commercially down in Mobile, Alabama in the middle 80s. I don't know about you, Geno, but I was strictly a city boy from Chicago. I didn't know much about the suburbs. I didn't know how to get there. We had the greatest public transportation system in the world. Yeah. You didn't really even need a car if you didn't want one back in the day, because, you could get everywhere in Chicago. So I didn't know really where Mobile, Alabama was, but they were hiring and they wanted a weekend sportscaster, and they said, "You're the guy we want." And so here we go. And I went down, and I hadn't been on the air a couple weeks good, but you know how some folks are, they notice you right away. I go to a store to pick up a couple things, and this young man notices me from TV already. And he says, "Hey, I bet your baseball team can't beat our baseball team." And I'm from Chicago, and I'm like, well, we don't have too many big name type guys who were born and raised in Chicago. Most of them Great Migration, in the 40s and stuff. And so most of our roots are from the South anyway. But I was like, well, Mobile, no Google back then, nothing like, who would know? So I said, "Okay, what you got, man? Talking this trash, what you got?" He said, "Well, we're going to start light with you. We're going to start in right field. How about Billy Williams in right?" Billy Williams is from here? That's my childhood idol. That's my hero, Billy Williams. Sweet swinging Billy with the Cubs. And he said, "Yep." Said, "That's all right, though. I'll put Amos Otis in center, and I'll back him up with Cleon Jones."
Now, for those who don't know, Amos Otis played for the Kansas City Royals.
Kansas City Royals mostly, yeah. Cleon Jones with the New York Mets, and some of those teams that beat the Cubs out there in the 60s and 70s. Cleon was a big part of that. And he said, "Well, we'll put Hank in left." Hank who? Hank Aaron. I said, "Wait, Hank Aaron, Billy Williams, Cleon Jones, those dudes are all from here?" He said, "Yup." He said, "Well, I'm not done." So we'll put Willie McCovey at first base. Now I'm done. I'm like, "Get out of here,
Stop.
Man. You're just lying." And then he didn't even finish going around the infield. He just said, Satchel Paige on the mound. And that was all I needed. And as you start to do research, you realize that it's a port city. It's warm most all year round. So you can play baseball pretty much all year if you want to. There's a few cold days in winter, and with global warming and stuff, maybe it's colder than it used to be back 35 years ago when I was there. But when you start doing research and you see that guys like, you may not have heard of unless you follow Negro League Baseball, Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe, who was a catcher and a pitcher, so he'd start one game and go behind the plate the next game. That's just unheard of. You have to have a special mentality. They're talking so much about Ohtani today, being a pitcher and a guy who can hit.
Right.
Well, imagine, that was kind of normal back in the day.
Right.
Guys who played with Satchel, and as a third baseman, Bill Robinson, they called a human vacuum cleaner. Ozzie is almost a couple decades behind most of those guys. So he hadn't quite established himself as a Hall of Famer yet. His career maybe had was just coming down to a close in the 80s and 90s. And, he wasn't in that realm yet. In fact, when this guy talked to me, the only one who was even in the Hall of Fame at the time would have been Satchel Paige and Hank Aaron.
Right. Now,
let me jump
in,
ahead.
Eric. I'm sorry. No. Because for those who are baseball fans, sports fans, or junkies like me, a point of privilege. So you mentioned a name that's probably not familiar with most people unless you are a huge fan of. He played in the Negro Leagues.
Right.
His name was Bill Robinson.
Right.
But it was the nickname that caught my attention. What was the nickname?
Human vacuum cleaner.
Because for those baseball fans out there, if I remember, there was a guy that played in maybe the 60s, 70s. Okay, the 70s. I remember the 70s. A guy that played for the Baltimore Orioles, a white guy named Brooks Robinson.
Brooks Robinson.
And I heard them call him the human vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
So that wasn't an original name.
No, there's a lot of stuff.
The real human vacuum cleaner was a
brother.
There's
a lot of stuff that the Negro Leagues brought to Major League Baseball. Let me just give you a couple before I finish the story. Playing under the lights. That's a Negro League concept.
Really?
Because they generally rented the stadiums from white teams, and the white teams would make sure they got the prime time playing during the day. So the Negro League teams had to buy portable lights so they could play as it got darker. So night games is a Negro League thing. Shin guards are a Negro League thing. The batting helmet is a Negro League thing.
What?
Stolen bases.
Wait, the batting helmet?
The batting helmet. Nobody had really thought of it. And then somebody said, man, we need some protection up there. I can't tell you who invented it or whatever, but it's a Negro League concept as well as aggressive base running, they called it.
Well, wait a minute.
We're talking about back in the teens and 20s when it really got going. So black people would get on base and they'd steal second and they'd steal third. And if you weren't careful, guys like Cool Papa Bell would steal home. And so those things kind of carried over.
Well, let's talk about one of those things real quick. Let me jump in here. The batting helmet. It just, I got to throw this in because it just hit me. I can imagine, I'm not surprised to hear that it was a brother that invented a batting helmet because it's like, if you had that perm, you had that fro, you didn't want to get that. Now, you could argue, man, if I put this helmet on, I'm gonna mess up my hair. But I'd rather the helmet mess up my hair than a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. So let me put something up here to protect this perm.
Right. There are a couple of guys who, we talk about the CTE and stuff and taking blows to the head, and we find out later, looking at guys like Lou Gehrig or others that, even took knees while sliding in the second, or all kinds of head injuries, and of course getting plucked with the baseball in the head. So it was a very key invention, but there were a lot of innovations out of necessity that the Negro Leagues put in, and of course Satchel Paige was the kind of guy there. But anyway, I had always kept that in my mind, what this young man told me about. And as I started to look, like maybe 3-4 years ago, and more information, there are a lot of other guys that came from Mobile, but the fact that you have 5 Hall of Fame players who were born there and who came up there, well, 4 of them came up there. Ozzie Smith was the last one. Now, he was born in 1954. So Ozzie was 15, 16, 17 years younger than the other Hall of Fame, and a lot younger, of course, than Satchel Paige, who had died by the middle 70s, I believe, or late 70s. And so Ozzie left Mobile at age 6. So it's kind of, he was born there and he spent some formative years there, but he didn't necessarily pick up all the baseball stuff that the other guys did because he didn't live there. However, I tried very hard to find Ozzie and understand why he still referred to Mobile as his home. And he often came back for celebrations like honoring Hank Aaron and naming a street and a stadium after him there in Mobile and other stuff. Ozzie was always there. But for whatever reason, I could never pin him down and get him to get on camera with me, which I regret. But we can always do a re-edit of the thing and put him in if ever I get to catch up with him at some point. So we didn't hear that part, but the other ones, and there are so many more guys that I didn't mention that aren't necessarily Black, but we're talking about Hall of Famers, all African American, all born in the midst of Jim Crow in the South, where you got to go over here, you got to drink out of that fountain, and these guys still come up through that anyway. And I just knew a few years ago when I started to really investigate if I wanted to do a documentary on these guys, that the story had been done. It has to. I mean, Mobile ranks third in Hall of Fame representatives, only behind New York City. At last I checked, New York had 14. Los Angeles had like 9, and Mobile had 5. And the closest to them are like 3 or 4. But Mobile is the real deal when it comes to baseball. They've been playing baseball in Mobile, some like even maybe in the late 1700s, early 1800s. What? I mean, they've been playing ball there a long, long time. And so I could not believe that nobody had done the story yet. So literally, in my own dime, I bought a couple cameras, I bought lights, I bought microphones, and now it was time to get down there and start to find these guys and get these stories and shoot them. And how in the heck did you do it? How did it all happen?
When did you do it? Exactly, because we saw Hank Aaron, rest in peace, power in paradise.
Yeah.
You were probably one of the last people that got a chance to have a sit-down conversation with Hank Aaron.
Very well may have been. Mr. Aaron was, I want to say, he might have been the last person I interviewed. I think I interviewed him in late August or something of 2019. Okay. So I started in January 2019, and I was pretty much through editing it and everything probably right in the middle of COVID 2020 or right before it started. And so my whole idea was not to broadcast it or anything, but was just to go around and personally play the documentary and share it personally with groups and schools and people to, get that kind of history. And so when COVID hit, of course, all that stuff was out. You're not going person to person. You're not going to sit in a small room with 150 other people.
Right.
And so we had to bring the movie up to the standards where it could be streamed. And so I had to kind of redo it and have it in a higher quality and use higher quality photos. Now, this isn't some action-packed movie or no fiction in it. These are a bunch of old guys. And 2 of the guys I interviewed in the movie are now gone. Like the Bowling brothers, Frank and Milt Bowling, are also from Mobile. Frank was like 88 at the time, battling cancer. And as soon as I finished the movie and got a DVD of it off to him, I mean, he passed away within a couple weeks. So I'm not certain he even got a chance to see the finished product. But what a wonderful guy he was, and what a wonderful advocate he was for the city doing, like, for example, if you stream the movie, which is on Google Play, Frank talks about the city, of Mobile. Again, we're talking about the Deep South, maybe not as bad as Birmingham or Montgomery, but still the Deep South, and they still have their ideology. And Hank Aaron's hammering down Babe Ruth's record. There's no huge billboard in Mobile that, counts down the numbers or anything till Hank ranks the record and Hank's our own or anything like that. But none of these guys except Willie McCovey was really bitter because of that experience in Mobile. Willie McCovey left and didn't come back until his mother died and his father died. And those are the only 2 times he's ever been back. I can't necessarily blame him, but I went and covered Willie McCovey, his Hall of Fame induction ceremony in 1985 or 6 when I was working in Mobile. And he almost didn't even talk to me because I was from Mobile. He wanted to, he did his speech and he was done. And I'm like, and I looked at him again. I don't know this history. I just know he's from Mobile, and most people like their home. Most people like where they're from. I have no idea. I've never met Willie McCovey before. We haven't talked on the phone. I don't know anybody from his family. And so I'm going like, Willie, I said, I'm from Mobile. What about the people from Mobile who supported you?
Yeah.
Talk to them. I couldn't care less about the other ones, but talk to the ones that supported you. And he finally and then this guy was one of the greatest guys you'd ever want to meet. But when it came to Mobile and how he was treated by the segregated racist South at that time, it was a bitter pill. And now, just as I started doing this video, doing this documentary, Willie passed away that October, just before I got started in the following January of 2019. Willie passed away. I doubt seriously he would have interviewed with me anyway, but I might have been able to drop that nugget and say, hey man, you remember the kid that met you when you went in the Hall of Fame and had to beg you to talk to him that was from Mobile? That's me. Funny story. I don't mean to create a monologue here. I leave that one to you, my brother.
No, listen, you are my guest. So we want the backstory. We want to talk about the documentary. You got a great story. Please share it. We're honored to have you share this story.
Billy Williams, when Billy retired, he hung around, of course, and was a special instructor with the Cubs for years. And I was still a young reporter in Chicago for Sports Phone and other stuff. And Billy and I would talk in the press box all the time. And I remember shortly after they blew Ernie Banks's flag up there, retired his number. And I said, Billy, I said, when are they going to do yours? And Billy looked at me and he was kind of frustrated. And he said, Eric, it seems like I'm always second around here, man. And I was just really saddened by that, because he was a tremendous, tremendous ball player and a tremendous athlete. And I said, Billy, when I finally caught up with him and set up the interview in Chicago in the summer, I said, Billy, I don't know if you'll remember me, but I think you will. Now, I'm a little fatter than I was when I last saw you. But he said, he
probably was too.
So am I. Yeah. But when we were talking for about 5 minutes, he actually remembered me. I know you. We used to talk all the time. I said, yeah. And Kenny McReynolds, another big name around Chicago sports. He never left like, some of the others of us did to pursue our careers. And everybody knows Kenny, who's been a guest on your show with me here too. But, to know that Hank and to know that Frank Bowling, are gone. And I was one of the last people to talk to them about this golden era. Frank Bowling, a white man and from a certain part of Mobile, didn't even meet Billy Williams and Willie McCovey and those guys till they got to the big leagues.
Wow.
That's how segregated it was. But they all played this game. They all played this game when you didn't have much money and couldn't afford to go buy baseballs. You take bottle tops and spin those things and take a broomstick and hit. And they all swore by this game. I didn't discover this game until I started doing the documentary. And all of them swore that this game helped them develop hand-eye coordination to become the hitters that they became. And, Billy and Willie and Satchel was a great pitcher. Of course, he didn't hit a whole lot. But some of the other guys, Cleon Jones and Amos and Tommy Agee's also from Mobile. And the list goes on and on and on. They're not Hall of Famers, but Mobile produced some really solid ball players for years and years up through the 50s and 60s. And it was just a baseball factory. And they all swear that Topps was a part of it. In fact, they play that game in the Dominican Republic right now. And so many Dominicans have made it to the major leagues and are really good hitters. And you think you got them fooled, and they have the coordination to go down and get that curveball or reach outside and flick it into right field. And they all swear that Topps, playing that game where that top goes all kinds of ways, is a reason. So the documentary kind of almost fell into place. I mean, Geno, when I went down to Mobile in January of 2019, I had zip. I mean, I called the Braves looking for Hank Aaron. And I was talked to very rudely by one of their staff people via email. Mr. Aaron's not doing any interviews. And I'm going like, well, he's like 85 years old. Like, are they lined up around the corner to interview him? I don't understand what you mean he's not doing any interviews. But met a reporter down there who knew a guy, and his best friend still lived there. And he said, oh, you want to talk to Hank? What's this about? Okay, let me give you this guy. And sooner or later, I'm on the phone with Hank Aaron. Nicest guy.
What was that like when you finally got him?
Man, it's the worst interview I've ever done in my life because I was in such awe.
Okay.
Being in his presence, that all I could do was go, uh-huh. But it was really funny. It was one time that my nerdiness actually helped me, because there are specific things that I remember about their career that the average guy just wouldn't remember, because I remember them from my Chicago perspective. And so I remember talking to Hank. This was not in the documentary, but this was just something we were doing. And I said, man, I run home from school one day and there you are playing against the Cubs, and Kenny Holtzman has a no-hitter going, the sixth inning or whatever, and there you come. And Kenny's getting a little gassed. And Kenny throws you some batting practice, whatever it was, and he just smashed it. I mean, Hank just knocked the bejesus out of him. And his homeboy, Billy Williams, goes up against the ivy, and you know in left field where it curves.
Yes.
So the wall, and it juts out a little. He brushes that, but the wind's blowing in. So he actually comes in a couple steps and actually catches it. And and the no-hitter is preserved. And actually later that game, Hank would make the last out of the no-hitter, a fielder's choice, ground ball to second base, and Becker would throw over to Kessinger and get the four, and the no-hitter is preserved. But he leans to me, he says, you remember that? I said, yeah, man, I used to run home from school every day and catch the Cub games on WGN. I was scared to death because I knew how great a hitter you were. And he said, he leaned and he said, Eric, I knocked the shit out of that ball. And I told him, well, we'll give you 756. How about that instead of 755? Because under any normal circumstance, it would have been gone. But it was just really a delightful. It was a delightful experience to meet these guys, rest their souls, Frank Bowling, Hank, and Billy is vibrant and alive and well. Early 80s. Billy said I owe him a lunch or a dinner. So when I'm back in Chicago, I got to look Billy up and take him to lunch. He said, I ain't gonna be cheap on you either. I said, okay, Mr. Williams, it's all good. It's all good. He was wonderful. And you learn some things about people, and you know, and that's what I'm hoping to pass along. Like a guy like Satchel Paige. You talk about the 70s with Kurt Flood and Andy Messersmith challenged the league for free agency. Negro leagues, though, Satchel didn't have to do that. He pitched for whoever was going to pay him the most money. So if he threw a game for the Monarchs on Tuesday and somebody was paying him $5,000 to come pitch for them on Thursday, guess where he was Thursday? And then he'd come back to to his team. So he was a barnstorming free agent before there was one.
I was just about to say that. No, it wasn't Messersmith. So the Negro League also introduced it. They didn't call it that. The free agent. The
Satchel Paige was the first one. And that guy was the guy, you know, again, the guy pitched in a game at age 59.
Wow.
He was 59 years old. Okay, we're near there. We're not quite there yet. Wink, 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 Gene.
I know, but still.
We're not quite there.
Just the thought of it. In the 50s, period.
The thought of a guy pitching in his 50s, late 50s.
That close, wow.
3 innings, no runs, 2 hits, I believe.
Wow.
At age 59.
Unbelievable.
Just imagine what he would have done
in his
record-wise if he was allowed to pitch in his prime and compete
against everybody. Yes, exactly.
And everybody competing against everybody. So I will commend Major League Baseball for at least acknowledging Negro League Baseball as professional baseball. But it's a shame that, and we've had this discussion before. I always said, well, why don't the major leagues guys have asterisks by their name? They didn't play against the best of the best. they didn't allow the best of the best to play.
I've been saying
And
that for
so-
decades. I have been. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
last week, I believe it was last Wednesday, Willie Mays turned 90.
90, yeah.
Willie Mays, the greatest baseball player ever.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Full stop for me. Not Babe Ruth. I don't want to hear about what he pitched in. No. He didn't. There's no way you can consider someone the greatest when they only competed against half of the best talent in the world. But that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother story.
Willie, we going down that rabbit hole. Yes.
Willie was, $50. $50 kept Willie and Hank Aaron from being teammates. So
Tell us that story real quick. Yeah.
The Giants had signed Willie, and they went after Hank. Hank had been playing with the Indianapolis Clowns for a little cup of coffee, not long. And he was kind of shopping around. Teams wanted him. And of course, the Braves offered him a deal, and so did the Giants. The New York Giants' deal was $50 less than the Braves offered.
Wow.
The only reason he took the Braves offer is because it was $50 was a big deal back
That's
then.
a lot of money.
So $50.
So what year were we talking about? That must have been.
I think Hank's first year in the bigs was 52 or 3.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right.
And-
53
and
sounds
Willie, we had this star named Willie Mays had already been signed. Can you imagine
I
Willie
was
Mays and Hank Aaron
in the same outfield.
and or how it would have affected both of them?
Mays hitting third, and Hank
Yeah,
Aaron hitting
and
behind Willie
hitting
Mays
fourth.
hitting cleanup.
And then
Oh
Willie
my God.
McCovey coming up later.
That
How
would have
about
been
Mays McCovey?
that would have been the real murderer's row. People talking about old baseball fans, Ruth and
Yeah.
Garrick. No, that would have been the real murderer's row.
But $50 kept them
Wow.
from being teammates, and
Wow.
and that's not fathomable. But all of those little things kind of come out in the documentary, and we get. I didn't want it to be downtrodden. Of course, I could have done it just on the race stuff and all the stuff they saw. There's a bit of that in there. It almost made Billy Williams quit. Billy
Really?
Williams talks in great detail about just, man, Billy was a man now, but not that any of them weren't, but Billy wasn't a guy that took no mess. So Billy's like, now, wait a minute. Now I'm hitting the ball hard. I'm doing what I got to do. Why I got to stay on the bus while the rest of the team goes in the hotel to eat dinner, me and the other brother that's on the team? Why we got to be served on the bus? He just got fed up.
Wow.
And he went all the way back home, man. And Buck O'Neill had to drive, who was a Cub Scout at the time. He had to drive to Mobile and try to get Billy to come back to the Cubs. He had quit. And so those kind of things were just delightful stories to hear. And I wish I had more time. I could have made the documentary a lot longer, but it's just under an hour.
Okay.
It's just quick going through the story. And in the middle is that Tops and how that game affected Frank Bowling, who's white, but he was poor. He didn't have a lot of money. But everybody played that game. And Mr. Bowling talked about having kids in his yard. He still has stuff in his yard when I last saw him, rest his soul, of the Tops and teaching these kids the fundamentals of the game and hand-eye coordination. And they all, it sounded like a broken record. Cleon Jones, see, it's a hand-eye coordination thing. And Billy went, see, it's hand-eye coordination. You got to see it before you hit it. And I'm sitting here going like, Geno, I worked there for 3.5 years. I never heard of no game called Tops. I never heard of it. I never knew that those guys were all from there. I never knew that Hank Aaron came home during the off season or Billy came home during the off season. I never knew that because, you and I, where we from, if you're a baseball star, you got a nice little home and we figure the last place you going is back down south to your home and see mom and daddy.
Right.
But we are wrong because family is huge and has been huge in our history in America ever since the beginning. And so, of course, they would go home. Hank told me a story of he left an all-star game that was in Houston, I believe. He left in the 5th inning because he got taken out. and he was able to see the ninth inning at home with his mom eating some fish.
He must have left the stadium and went straight to the airport and flew
For
to
real,
Atlanta.
man. He probably still had his uniform pants on or something, and threw a coat on, you know. But those kinds of things, and it was just really good. I think people will have a delightful time watching it. It's streaming on Google Play. There'll be more streaming outlets as we go.
Good.
And just really hoping that people have as much fun watching it as I did making it. It really was a fun experience for me.
Are you going to enter the film? Maybe you have in some of the film festivals, like the Cannes Film Festival.
I am looking into doing that right now.
Good.
It's a little bit out of the box for me because, again, I didn't create it with that in mind. I created it just to be a private kind of film with, me sharing it directly with people. But yes, I can do that. Most people who've seen it really enjoyed it. Billy Williams called me back and said, that was pretty good. I like that. That was good. and for Billy Williams, that's quite a compliment.
Well, listen, you don't need me to tell you this, but you need to go on and get that 30 for 30 bag. I don't know who's running ESPN right now, but you need to get that 30 for 30 bag. So whoever the CEO is over there, with the mouse is, y'all need to get his brother, all right? Black Lives Matter and his racial reckoning, do some business with black business owners. Y'all need to get his brother that 30 for 30 bag there.
You know what? It's really strange that you mentioned that because places like ESPN or places, Disney, is Disney one of your sponsors? I don't want to.
No, they're not.
They're not. Disney is, they are known to be sharks, man. They try to make and keep all the money. God bless them. They've made millions of children happy all over the world. Nothing against that. However, I know that if they've seen the film, and I happen to know one of their executive producers has a copy of it.
Wow.
If they've seen it, they're trying to do it themselves. They would never give me the credit for it. They try to produce it, but it's impossible. First of all, Hank, rest his soul, is gone. So you're not going to get to sit down with him.
Right.
Frank, rest his soul, is gone. They just won't know where to start because I was in there. Hank's best friend, Mr. Thomas Michelle Withers, who's, got to be 87, 88 by now, looked at me and he said, you know how the old brothers do it. You're a good man. You're a good man, Geno. You're a good man. Here, I'm going to give you these numbers. You call this person first and this person second. I'm going, really? There was something he saw in me, our connection as just rooted people in this tradition. And I was like this kid in the candy store. I'm like going, whoa, you Hank's best friend. Isn't that something? Wow. When's the last time you saw him? And what about you? Did you play baseball too? And he did, but he injured himself and he didn't have the pro career, but he was always there for Hank and Hank's side at every moment. And man, to meet people like that, to have them almost fall out of the sky in front of you, they didn't, but to meet Willie McCovey's little brother and to have him welcome me into his house and, and then offer me a drink and it wouldn't take no for an answer. I'm like, man, I'm trying to work, man, you're going to have some of this Hennessy with me and some Coke, but you want Coke or Pepsi.
But that was divine intervention for you, man. And let me say this. If Disney and the mouse ears don't want to secure the bag or they don't want you to secure the bag, they got competition. You got Fox Sports. Oh,
that's right.
We got the Major League Baseball Network.
Yep.
So
you do.
One of you, hey, listen, this man may have the last interview of Hank Aaron before he God rest his soul in peace, power, and paradise. So y'all need to get his brother his bag, okay?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, man. And people are saying, well, have you thought of doing any more? I said, well, of course I've thought of doing more. I'd love to sit down and talk to Bill Russell about being the GOAT, and 11 titles and what kind of stuff.
Hey, don't tell him, because like you said, they'll steal your idea. Right. Now, if they want to work out a consulting and a producers, yeah, let's secure the bag first.
They've already done one on Bill Russell. Yeah. Somebody did a really good one with Bill Russell. But there's so many stories.
You could do one better. You could tell the stories they didn't tell.
That's right.
And you may have a different chemistry with Brother Russell than somebody else did.
Very true. There's always
man, you going to secure that bag, brother.
Else.
But I'm glad. Listen,
a lot of fun.
I'm going to do anything I can to help you secure that bag. But right now, the documentary is on Google Play. Correct?
Correct.
All right. In the future, hopefully, we'll be seeing. And the good thing now, the platforms that we're on now, on these digital platforms, you got Netflix, you got Hulu, you got Amazon Prime. You got a Samsung TV. You've got a plethora of platforms.
Yes.
So go on and secure that bag, Eric.
Yeah, you got and I have a Facebook page. The title of the movie, From Tops to the Top, a slice of Mobile's baseball story. Come visit the page. You can go right to Google Play right there, stream the movie, buy the movie. Hey, whatever. I think it's very worth the thing. It's fun. It's interesting. It's informative. My big brother even said, "Man, I thought it was a documentary like all the other ones I watched. It was really good." So when your big brother endorses you like that, Big Brother don't never compliment me on nothing. But he enjoyed this, and it's a lot of fun, and it just was. I think you're right. Divine intervention, seeing it all come together, and it was wonderful. And I appreciate you having me on here to share a little bit about the experience of making it and the impact it can have, especially in this time where deserving African Americans are finally getting some of their just due.
Yes.
Right now, I think it's very important that you know that there's a lot of stuff. You can go to MajorLeagueBaseball.com and just look up what they got from the Negro Leagues, and it's listed right there. The shin guards and the helmet and the stolen bases and the night games, all of these little innovations that because segregation forced us to go and do something our own. And of course there were struggles, but don't think for a minute that somebody said, "Oh, it's shucks, it's just bad stuff. We need to invite some of these black people to play in the major." There's fans and money follow them to the major leagues.
Exactly.
And they're not stupid now. If somebody can make them some more money and help them win games.
Exactly. and to use a football term before I let you go, the film don't lie. The tape don't lie. All right.
It never lies,
the ability jumped off the screen when you saw Willie Mays, making a basket catch, in the polo grounds, and he caught the ball, was his back turned towards home plate. When you saw Hank Aaron hit one of those live drive home runs that just screamed off of his bat. Billy Williams had that sweet swing, and he would hit that old billboard that was across the street from the bleachers in right field. It's not there anymore because now instead of a billboard, they got seats. People have those brownstones, apartment buildings, and now condominiums, probably worth $1 million. So that's a whole other conversation.
So it's really amazing, man. The history has to be preserved and continue to be told. And if you need a guy to come in here and rail about why Shaka Khan and Mary J. Blige belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you got a guy. It's like, come on, y'all crazy.
Well, we'll do that. We'll do that show. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm gonna bring you back. Now you laughing? I'm serious. I'm gonna bring. So I'm gonna have a panel. I'll have a group panel discussion here. We'll go ahead and rant about the slights. How the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, they got some of it right, but they got some of it wrong too. So, but you know what? That's why we can't sit around and wait for other people to validate our greatness.
Exactly.
We have to validate our own greatness. So let's build our own Hall of Fame.
Right.
Come on, we got all this. What would the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame be without black performers? I mean, really.
Wouldn't be.
Just this class alone. Let's take Jay-Z and Tina Turner and LL Cool J and Billy Preston and Gil Scott-Heron. And then the ones they didn't, put in the hall that should have been in there, like we said, Mary J. Blige and Shaka Khan and Auntie Dionne Warwick. That's just this year. We're not talking about recently with NWA. Come on, man. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, Tops to the Top. Beautiful documentary, the history of some of the greatest athletes, greatest baseball players, African-American players, primarily your legends, that came out of this small town in southern Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. You got to see this. Listen, I'm predicting that this documentary is going to receive some awards. We're going to speak that into existence. This is the real 30 for 30. Tops to the Top. Eric Clemons, he did it all. The producer and everything, man. Just thank you, brother, for coming on the show. I am blessed to have a platform, man, to let you share your story. So we're gonna make sure share this episode, tag it, email it, send it over to them folks. But like you said, they'll probably try to, steal it. But you can't do what he did because you're not him. And then Brother Aaron, rest in peace. He's already rest in paradise. So if y'all want to do it right, if you want it right, get the man that can do it right.
There you go.
But we got to secure the bag. So secure the bag, and then we can talk.
We can talk.
Eric, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Geno, I appreciate it, man.
Once
appreciate
again,
it very much.
Tops to the Top. You can watch it. As a matter of fact, after this episode, you can find it on Google Play. Make sure you support Black business owners also. Support Eric and support myself, and we got to support each other. So thanks again, Eric. Have a good evening.
All right, brother. Take care. Peace.
All right. It's a good dude right there, and a super, super talented guy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to watch that as soon as this episode is over. Tops to the Top documentary on Google Play. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life as always. God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, tag these episodes, email them to everybody and anybody you know. But like, share, and subscribe to the Geno Jones channel right here on YouTube. All right, the Geno Jones Show. Live. I live stream it. I do it live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, 3:30 out on the West Coast, part of the Geno Jones Network. So, if you'd like to be a sponsor, I'd be honored to have you as a sponsor. I'd be honored to have you advertise on the show and my channel. If you're looking for a pitch man, you need somebody that can definitely help you sell your product. I'm the king of pitch men. So reach out to your boy, Geno Jones Show. That's how you spell Geno with a G and an E. Geno Jones Show @gmail.com. Shout out to Mr. Bruce Gage, the official wardrobe stylist and consultant for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out. Just do a search on Instagram, IG, Bruce Gage, Gage, and flyballthestore.com. Shout out to Mr. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hair stylist for the Geno Jones Show. Yes, check him out on Instagram, on IG, Kel Beat Cuttin, KELBECUTTIN. I really love each and every one of you. I really do. Thank you for watching, Mother. You know I love you more than anything else, more than life itself. I'm so grateful. Thank you to all my new subscribers. So please, once again, like, share, and subscribe. And go back and binge watch all my previous episodes of the Geno Jones Show. So until tomorrow, Thursday, my guest, I'm gonna have a surprise. Just tune in tomorrow. So until tomorrow, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, once again, thank you so much for watching. I am so grateful. And in the meantime, be blessed.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.